So Sue and Margarita will be in tonight.
Woohoo, wow.
We'll want. So either, maybe they're gonna show up later, not, I don't know. First order of business. In consideration of the meeting minutes from August 13th. I think this is more about the discussion of parking requirements for the mill. Number that was stated was 330 and OJ's motion. I went back and looked at the two maps that I had, plans and stuff that I had. They submitted. And there was one for 330, but there's one for 308.
What's the date on 308?
May 21st, 2025. The difference in them is the
2 outdoor spaces.
yes. Well, I went down and looked at it today, from whether or not there were outdoor spaces there. The Moon Cafe does have some outdoor space. They don't have 40 seats outside there, but the Snowfish Sushi has not. So, Margarita, you were short lived.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I don't think that's called either of us did. I've done it.
So, good evening,
I don't
Joe.
want to.
How you doing?
I think I did it, and you added her for like 5 minutes. So I don't know.
But if Steve comes in here, I'll do it.
Yeah,
So it doesn't make any difference. Just
all right.
Thank
so anyway. What do we want to do about the numbers? The 330 number. I guess my only concern is that again, 175 short. Short of what they need. I don't know.
We're just talking about the minutes right now, right?
Right,
Right.
but I know we were gonna clarify the numbers.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
All right, after line 229, key points of discussion included.
Hang on. These are the ones in the 13.
Yes.
Key points of discussion included.
13. All right, bullet number 1, I'm suggesting say, existing parking. There are currently 158 existing parking spaces. There's nowhere is that like made obvious.
And that's one of the things we asked about too, so.
And we discussed, and we got charts of it and all of that.
Right.
All right,
So we can make the change,
well, add
add,
a new bullet, existing parking. There are currently 158 existing parking spaces.
is G on Zoom,
No,
rules to making the change.
I'm writing them down as we speak, and it's being recorded.
All right, bullet number 2, where it says parking requirement,
I'm sorry, can you say the number of those spaces again?
158.
Okay. All right,
Under parking requirement, the current calculation showed a parking space requirement of 330 spaces. And I know that there was one that said 308, and it didn't include the 2 outdoor spaces. In our discussion, we had the chart showing the 330 at that meeting,
so
and that's the one that we were basing our discussion on. And I would like to include this as an attachment to the minutes, just so it's totally clear 10 years from now, when someone comes in, this is the plan that we're talking about.
so that will have both 308 and
No, the current calculation,
I understand the plan. I mean, you guys got both plans?
no, I'm gonna submit the plan that we had at that meeting on that night, not plans that we got a month or 2 prior.
Because they're the same plans.
They are
They were
not,
both submitted. They were both submitted when we were talking about this.
Can I have both you put your microphones on? Sorry.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
So, I just realized it.
no, I just realized it too.
All right, I'll change this parking requirement. The current calculation showed a parking space requirement of 330 spaces, which is more than the prior submission of a chart showing only 308. Now, we made it clear that we used to have a 308. The one that is in effect and was part of the discussion is 330. And that shows why we chose that number 330 as the cap.
I understand that, okay, but what I'm saying is that. Even though we said 330, there are no outside Snowfish Sushi parking spaces. So that should come off of that list. And I don't, we have to talk about that, we were supposed to be making an agreement with them. They were
Alright.
supposed to be bringing forth an agreement.
Did we talk about this at the meeting? We're talking about the minutes here.
Oh, we talked about it at the meeting we were talking about. I believe it's somewhere in the,
I guess why would we have chosen, so you're saying we told them that it was, that this 330 is wrong, but we took that number anyway?
we told, you said 330, go ahead, Mike.
I just added the 158 as the existing number now, the parking spots. And if we went through all the stuff, we were shy 172. So if you add the 158 and 172, it comes to 330, which was gonna cap it. Okay, so that's where the 330 number came in, so we're 172 shy.
Right, and what I'm saying is if we're not, if those spaces for Snowfish Sushi aren't actually there, we shouldn't be considering them in 330, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is, at the meeting we're talking about the minutes for,
On the 13th,
yes. Okay. The current parking cap summary that we had was this one that showed 330. Now, in your possession, we had one from the 1 month before, if you brought it to the meeting. But actually,
it's all taken together, that's how I got it. Even though it says received May 21st, when I got this, we were talking about that night.
can we call it
Yeah,
the
well-
most current parking space requirement is 330? That makes sense to put in the minutes? Or we can put in, we had two things at the minutes, one was a month old and one was recent. And we were discussing the recent one. How do you want to word this? We're doing the minutes, not whether you think there should or shouldn't be any space.
Say that the one was submitted on, well, looks like 5/20/2025. One was submitted on 5/20/2025. The other was submitted on 5/12/2025. So the last one that was submitted was on 5/12.
I have 602 on the one that we got at that meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, small. 602, okay, so 602. Let's do them by the date. There were two plans that were submitted, one was submitted on 5/21/2025, and it had 308 spaces in it. And there was one that was submitted on 6/2/2025 that had 330.
All right, let's put that in under the second bullet point, parking requirement. The board reviewed a summary of parking spaces totaling 308 spaces with a planned date of May. I don't have it.
And it's like 20. May 12th.
May 12th, 2025.
Yep.
The board also reviewed an updated parking summary showing 330 spaces on a plan dated June 2nd, 2025. And then the next one would be, the next bullet point would be the parking cap. The applicant agreed to voluntarily cap the total at 330 spaces. Then as we get down where the motion is, that's what the number is. And why don't we attach both summaries to the minutes? So that it matches up with what's in the minutes.
You should,
That would be,
Carol should have that, I would think, both of them.
Yeah, we have both.
all right, I'll make that as a motion for the change in the minutes.
Okay. We'd already gone through everything else on the August 13th. I don't know if they all get changed or not, but. Well, I'll do me a motion for a second. Second, I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So that. 13.
Actually, my motion was to amend the minutes. If you don't accept the minutes as amended. I added that.
You made a motion to amend the minutes. We already,
Okay,
oh, that's right, because we did not accept.
right. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hopefully she'll have all the other amendments we made that night. It's all up. Minutes of August 28th. On the agenda, it says August 27th, my minutes say August 28th. So I don't know what state it was. What was Wednesday? I got 28. Wednesday was the 28th.
No, it's the 27th.
27th. It was the 27th?
Yeah.
We'll change that date to the 27th, I haven't really had a chance to review that. I picked my packet up on Monday after Monday, but then I looked at everything else aside the minutes. So. So are you okay with that? What's in there about you moving the trailers? 28. Yeah. On the August 27th. I just want to make sure that you're okay with the minutes. The way they reflect, I understand that. I just want to make sure that you are okay with minutes that they reflect what you did.
I think on line 26, what I was mentioning is Joe is just 5 minutes late. So it has been put in an excuse, but then he stepped back in and Margarita stepped out.
We want to correct that.
You on that?
Yeah.
Well, then neither one of them should be excused.
the thing my dad is. We're on lot 51. So the state moved all my boundary mark years ago. Supposed I could find according to town map. But yeah. But having the whole property surveyed.
Okay, are there any other changes? I guess I'm okay with it.
Mike's last name is spelled wrong in a couple spots.
I'm sorry,
Mike's last name is spelled wrong in a couple spots.
you didn't pick that up, Mike?
Each one of you,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. They started with an I, so.
Well, we know it wasn't the other one.
I have them circled, so I'll just make sure it gets corrected.
If we're good, I'll make a motion to accept. With those changes of the date and the appendix.
Motion on the second. All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? That's done. Next. The murals down after we get to Taylor. Anyone have a problem with that?
Nope.
All right. We'll move on to. Discussion and conceptual from Scott Caselli. Civil Engineering Land Development Director, Longfellow Design Building. Scott wants to talk to us about how they handle stormwater management issues in Peterborough. Properties that are sited on ledge or rock or other soil types where there is no capacity to store water on the lot. Climate stormwater management.
Good evening.
Isn't that?
Thank you. Again, for the record, Scott Shelley from Longfellow Design Build. Thank you for putting me on the agenda. So I'm here to talk about, in particular, lots on Cedar Circle. Currently, Longfellow has 4 lots under construction on Cedar Circle. And the varying degrees, I think all 4 of those lots have exceeded 55% disturbance on the lot. And obviously, we want to talk about what options are suitable, acceptable to rectify that.
Did you say there's only 4 lots built over there?
Well, there's 4 lots that Longfellow has on construction. There's, I can kind of run through them, but the Sack lot is the first one on the left.
Okay.
The Tender lot is the third one on the left that backs up against the trail. And then the last 2 on the right. Fortin's the one that's first one on the right. And Shaughnessy is the second one on the right that kind of backs up the other side. The Kaplan lot is the one that's in framing right now that backs up to the ski trail. That's the second
So
lot in.
There's 5 that are being built on.
Correct.
There's only one that's just, there's only one left, it's a total set, right?
Correct, yeah. So, as I mentioned, there are 4 lots that Longfellow has under construction. The Kaplan lot, Longfellow has no involvement with the build there. And Holtzman is the one that's in permitting right now. The lot's cleared, but we have no involvement with that lot either.
It's right on tonight.
He was going, I believe.
So Kaplan and Holtzman are independent on the.
They're on their own. And if it helps, I do have like a plan of Cedar Circle. that I have full-size ones that I can give you. That might just help you see, like, if people aren't familiar with what Cedar Circle looks like and what the lots look like.
We were given one in our. Packet.
Oh, so yeah, you have that, yeah. That, I have a large.
So. The four left that. Longfellow has are. Must be 39.5. 39.7, 39.9. Thirty-nine, eight, you know, the label there. Four lots that are over are the ones with the 39.9, 39.7, 39.5,
39.10.
39.10 is over as well.
Yeah.
Three, okay. Were the land use permits issued to Longfellow independently for each one of these?
Yes,
And there was two different, and then the one for Kaplan and Holtzman, those were into,
Holzman hasn't been issued yet.
with Holtzman has not been issued.
No, it's under review.
That's been cut though, right?
Okay.
Well, it's with battery.
Oh, yeah. Now that we got our bearing a little bit, thank you.
so what, from our initial calculations, the disturbances range from the Zach lot, which is the first one on the left. That's disturbed at about 65%.
Back one. Can you use numbers?
Sorry, I'll go by numbers. We'll do 39.5.
39.5 is stored by how much?
65%.
Okay,
The other three all vary between 55 and 60.
Is there a common disturbance amount that typically happens on a build? Or is it zero?
I would,
can't be more than 55.
yeah, it can't be more than 55% unless we permitted it that way at a time. These, if I went back and looked at every single one of these, they were probably permitted at like 54 point. And you know, honestly, we're learning from our mistakes, like we won't design that way. Because the contractor, it doesn't take much when you're blasting or doing whatever for that exceedance to happen. So for instance, when I use these numbers of those lots being between 55 and 60%. It's on a 15,000 square foot lot. All these lots are right around 15,000 square foot. A disturbance of 60% is an extra 750 square. That's all that amounted to. And all that took was the contractor trying to get around the foundation. They went a little too far, whatever it is. The blast went a little too far. So it's not an excuse. I'm just saying, like, we will never permit something or apply for something at 54.5% again, because the chances of that getting violated in the field are too high. So we would either, you know, if it's something a lot less that we felt comfortable with, we would do that. Or if we feel like we're right at that 55%, then we'll find a way to design it with stormwater to exceed that.
So Scott, also, and I think it's on Capitol's lot, there was 2 lots that had a ski easement.
Correct.
Was it just 2?
Yes, that is the,
One was Kaplan, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, it's 39.5 and 39.6, and the plan that is in front of you that I gave you actually showed you that he's. It doesn't have the trail easement on it. I mean, it doesn't have the trail grading on it. But, you know, it's an interesting topic, Paul, because the land use permit for 39.5 had already been issued, and then we came in front of this board with the ski trail. Now, the ski trail was part of the subdivision up above, and that has an AOT permit that went along with it. So like that disturbance was also permitted through the state. But it just was, the timing of that was kind of different because the land use permit on 39.5 had already been issued. Then the trail construction happened after that land use permit was issued.
So my question then is the percentage of disturbance? I guess if I'm looking at the lot, if the lots were made and then the easements came in after,
That's correct.
so then the easements are supposed to be taken out of the lot and calculate the percentage of disturbance. Easements are not considered part of that calculation. So in other words, that lot actually is everything but square footage on that lot, is everything but those easements. So then they would be a lot more disturbed for 39.5 and the Capitol lot. If that is, we would have to look, we don't know what the Capitol lot is, we're gonna find out what that. We'll have to figure that out, ask them to give us a percentage of disturbance on that too. Whoever's doing that bill for them. And same with, well, Holtzman hasn't been built yet, but it's been cut, so it hasn't been disturbed, so.
Yeah, and
So
they already have stormwater management in their plans.
Kaplan does?
Holtzman does, or Holtzman, the one, yeah, the one that has yet to be issued. I can't recall if Kaplan did or not, I'd have to look at the permit.
So Holtzman has
Did.
stormwater,
Yes,
Like they came in about a year and a half ago for the board, you remember?
and we don't know about. We don't know about that.
Scott's saying he doesn't believe it did.
I don't believe that had stormwater.
So the only one of the 6 that are there is Holtzman that had stormwater
In addition to the stormwater that's in the roadway.
in the roadway, that road. And the 2 lots, lot number 39.5. And lot number, the Kaplan lot,
39.6.
39.6. Those 2 have the easements, but they weren't taken out as part of the consideration. On the area of disturbance or the lot.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
I guess that's tricky though, because if the permits were issued prior to the easement being put on. And the permit was issued based on the full lot, and then the easement got put on afterwards, how do you retroactively calculate? The
Well, the
area of
easement-
disturbance?
The easement shouldn't have been allowed to be put on. Because it disturbed those 2 lots.
Right, but you all allowed that.
when they did that.
Yeah, I mean, that was,
Did
that,
the-
that got planning board approval.
The easements did?
Yes,
Easements did?
yeah, because they had to come in for the ski trail.
Yeah, it was part of the,
Remember that, that's why I came in, that's why I was asking about that.
With a year and a
that was
half.
on the, that was on the Timber Ridge subdivision.
Am I understanding the easement goes right through the proposed location of the house?
Yeah.
What did you do that?
So the easement at the time was oversized. The grading does not run through the house. So the grading is limited to behind the house.
So the easements, the purpose of the easement is not for the ski trail, it's for the grading to get from the ski trail.
It's the side slope of the ski trail, it's not the actual skiable terrain. So in other words,
Right.
that part of the ski trail is up high like this,
Right,
and there's a slope that goes down and then encroaches into those two lots.
and maybe this isn't part of the discussion, but is there any thoughts to realigning that easement so it does not run through his living room?
Well, so, yeah, I mean, I would think we would have a discussion about realigning that so it doesn't run into the lots at all. So that the area of disturbance is, you have the whole lot.
Well, if they need it for the.
Yeah, I think they need
ski
some of
trail,
it for
need
the
some of
slope
it
easement.
slope,
Right.
there should be an easement there. But if the slope ends at the backside of the house, just to have the easement go through the house seems odd.
The slope, the easement, I think preceded the build on the lot, preceded the land use permit on the lot, so it was. The timing, I'd have to go back and check to see when that was.
You take a look at that, just,
Yeah,
But either way, the lot coverage. Or area of disturbance, I should say, on that lot exceeds. The trigger point for stormwater.
Right.
Whether you include the easement or don't include the easement, it triggers it.
it does, but when they're figuring out the calculations, I think that. I don't know how they would, if that's gonna come into play or not.
so I can't. Speak for the Kaplan lot right now, because obviously that's. I feel like we're going to be dragged into that, but it's not our lot. What we're doing is, obviously, the purpose of tonight was I'd like to get some feedback on how I can solve this problem, right? And we are going back and trying to look at, other things that we could do to, actually employ stormwater that would make the lots compliant. Okay, so we're certainly willing to look at that option and, I don't have all the exact information yet. Obviously, I would expect that you would want Ray to take a look at it. But 39.5, we think we can make compliant. But the other lots are a bit more problematic from what we can tell, and I want to understand if, like I said, when you look at those numbers, when you're talking about being just over that threshold by 750 square feet or 1,000 square feet, obviously, when we landscape the lot, what type of landscaping would this board consider as restoration, that all of a sudden that lot is no longer non-compliant? It is 1,000 square feet of grass, which is typically what these houses get. That automatically makes the other three lots compliant. If you allowed grass to be a restoration, or a mulch bed that's covered with plantings, shrubs and everything like that, is that an acceptable restoration method? Because all of these lots become compliant with that type of restoration. So that's the type of feedback that I was looking to get from this board, so that I can then formally present something to this board and to Ray to say, this is how we want to make these compliant.
So you're saying that you could put. Holtzman has stormwater management, you're saying you could put stormwater management in on 39.5. So it leaves the three, it leaves the 39.10, 39.9, 39.7. Holtzman,
That's my,
I mean, Kaplan's on their own, you have nothing to do with that. Can you tell?
But you're asking if this type of plan of restoration is gonna be acceptable to this board as a stormwater management plan or mitigation or whatever?
correct.
Okay,
And if a plan like that is acceptable, what type of restoration is acceptable? Do you consider lawn restoration? Do you consider a mulch bed that's covered with shrubs restoration? Because that's kind of what that plan depicts, right? It's, and you know, the ARB guidelines in South Peak don't allow, they only allow up to 1,000 square feet of grass, so people can't have these expansive lawns. So you end up with up to 1,000 square feet of grass, but then a lot of mulch beds and shrubs and different types of plantings. As opposed to a bunch of grass.
So Scott, can you tell me why you can't put stormwater management on those other, the three lots we're talking about?
So we are looking at that all to see if we can make that work. It's, the only way to accomplish it is through different drip edges and stuff, and we're still trying to figure out whether we can get that employed. I'm not gonna rule it out. I may be able to come to you and tell you that there's at least one other or two others, or maybe all of it, that we can accomplish that just by capturing the runoff in the drip edges.
That would seem like the better way to go, to be in compliance and to meet the requirement. Having gone through one of those reforestation plans. It's a little more, the requirements are a little more than what you have here. Okay, the reforestation plans are, the plans are, have to take have your pre-tree count on the lot. And then you take that, and you're not gonna take a 12-inch tree and replace it with a 12-inch tree, so it's gonna be a 3-inch. So then you have to figure out how you're gonna mitigate the difference between the 3-inch and 12-inch. As far as water absorption, you know, the runoff. And then you have to have, there's a maintenance plan that has to go along with it. There's there was another plan that has to go along with it too. Inspections. Because what you don't want to do is, if you do a forest restoration plan, and I'm not sure that I really care about those a lot, I've got questions about them. But if you do one and then someone sells the house and cuts the tree down, or they take up all the bushes, then it's null and void. So you know, you're almost better off to go with if you can go with it, I would think that stormwater management. Direction that you headed. But
That was my concern too. Once the homeowner takes over the house, they can do whatever they want, right? So if they decide to put some beds in, take some grass out, and then we start losing all that to hold back water and erosion starts occurring.
Well, the only thing I would say is that even someone that has stormwater or is in compliance doesn't preclude somebody from doing what they want on the lot. I would say that, you know, we kind of have our own built-in police system up there. I can tell you, because I am on the AR board, that we get people rat each other out. So if someone tries to do landscaping and cut trees down, like, we find out right away and we find them. And they have to replant. So we do have a good policing system within the development, but I understand what you're saying. There's always people that understand that the problem with the reforestation plan is
there's a
the
lot.
next homeowner could try to change.
I mean, the reforestation plans typically are engineered by hydrogeologists. None of that's cheap. I mean, not that money's the issue, but they're not easy to do.
Yeah, understood.
One thing people, the planning board and don't think about.
Is your mic on?
No. One thing we do, we haven't taken into consideration, you get a lot being built. That's the trees outside the perimeter are dead. And once the house is built, they come take the trees down, but the trees are included in the forestation plan, original one. Now they get to replace dead trees with trees that are alive, but the cost is so exponentially enormous. Take down a dead tree, around the village that they're not allowed to take down, but they're filming this stuff. And the disturbance plan, we can find a way to make it equitable, both for the developer, the homeowner. And without doing damage to, if you leave a dead tree near a house, it's big, you can't take it down because they're within certain parameters of the forest. But if you don't take it down, they can lose their house.
That's up to the home.
But it would be much more equitable to take the dead tree down before they build a house than after the fact.
Then that's up to the home, right? Yeah,
But why can't we let them take it down before it comes to hazard? So
I could. I could.
I was asking for several homeowners before.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Oh, Jen?
I just have a question. Can you explain to me the drip edge system? What happens? How does that work?
Yeah, it's like a rectangular volume of stone that captures either, you put it either along the edge of the driveway so that the driveway sheds off into it. Or you're capturing like at certain portions of the roof where it's coming right off the roof. It's dropping right down into like 2, 3, 4 feet deep of stone by a certain width. Right, so that
Just like a drywall.
it's kind of like a dry well, but it's really just a strip of stone that might be a certain depth by a certain width and it holds a certain volume. And it's got nowhere for the water to go other than into the ground, so it drops into the ground and percolates into the ground.
Have you been talking to Ray?
And what happens when you're dealing with as much ledge as you are up there?
So I would say that I would say the good thing about even when you're working on a blasted lot, you don't have ledge right up to the foundation, so the drip edges can still work. The ones on the edges of the driveways, if the rock is right there, so that would be more challenging. But you know, this was one of the discussions. It wasn't just because we started, you know, figuring out this problem at Cedar Circle. It's like, okay, we're looking ahead to Alpine Drive and saying that, okay, there's almost every lot up there is very similar to this situation. And so we're trying to plan ahead so that I'm not before you a year from now with something very similar where, okay, we went over 55%. So we're trying to proactively not have that problem up on Alpine Drive, which is all ledge. But the drip edges can still work because even if it was ledge, you blasted it all out to put the house in.
But doesn't that form, where does that water go? It goes down into this stone pit. There's a foundation here and ledge here, and ledge here. Is the water just?
Runs on top of the ledge.
Yeah, it runs on top of the ledge or it runs into voids in the ledge. You know, like you drive down the highway and see water coming out the side of the ledge.
Yeah.
Fractures, but in most cases too, you know, you don't literally have a blasted bathtub of ledge. Normally there's relief somewhere, whether it's a walkout or on one side of the house, there was no ledge, it will migrate.
Okay, so that pit then is meant to catch the water when it's raining or running down the hill, and then slowly drain out over time.
Correct.
And they have those, some of the houses that South Peak have concrete catchments.
Yeah, you can do pits as well.
Yeah, the pits. And they were put in so they only release the water at so much of a rate. And that's just almost what you're talking about, something like that.
Yeah.
Only it's done.
The pits are definitely harder to do in ledge because you're trying to put those pits somewhere away from the house. And that's where normally the ledge ends up being a problem, but the drip edges is something that's more manageable in those situations because they're typically right up against the house.
So are those commonly, have you talked to Ray about these strip edges and are those commonly used for stormwater management? That's what I found.
Ray's already approved versions like that. So it's a definitely a viable option. But maybe, I'm not positive, because I'm not, well, I think the Holtzman one is pits, is strip edges.
We don't know anything about that, so we have to find out about that. We don't even know how.
Kaplan was, I'm pretty positive it was not designed with stormwater.
But we don't know whether it's over the 55% of 17,000 square feet. Is it, you don't know?
I think it's over, but I don't.
I'll find out.
You only find that one out.
I just asked, why are you trying to avoid stormwater management? I mean, isn't that beneficial to the surrounding?
Avoid it anymore.
I mean, doesn't that mean that it would be healthier for all the houses, healthier for runoff into the river? I mean, when you say you must have had because of location, was there a DEF permit involved, and that's where you're only allowed to disrupt so much of the trees and then so much of the natural trees that would absorb water, hold back the natural ground would still be there?
Well, so when it comes to these individual lots, we're working strictly under the town's stormwater ordinance, right, which is the 55%.
Yeah.
When you have a really big development that triggers you to the state, so Alpine Drive, we had to go and file an alteration of terrain permit. We had to design stormwater for that road to capture everything from that road. And then when we do the lots, it'll be the same thing, or the local jurisdiction. Initially the thought was, if we can stay under 55%, we would stay under 55% just because of the cost of stormwater. But, I'm here telling you that we've learned that we can't be right up to 55%, think that it won't accidentally get triggered. Okay, so going forward, you'll start to see, or Ray, or whoever is going to start to see. Like we have one that's with Ray right now for across the street from here that we just designed with stormwater. So that's kind of like where we're at, unless it's like 50%, you have extra room to play with to get to 55. We'll be coming in with stormwater.
Because without that, these homeowners could be looking at, there's a lot of water that sheds off that mountain. And they could be looking at issues down the road, I would guess.
The mountain would have to take care of their water. They usually take care of that by having water bars and stuff like that, so a lot of that doesn't come down off in the way they grade it, I think.
I don't know, when you're skiing down and you see,
Yeah, oh, you see something, yeah?
and it's heading right for these new houses that are built. I feel like there should be good plan on where that water is gonna go, and that it's clean water that's heading into the river.
So I'm gonna ask some questions that probably nobody wants to ask.
Sure.
How did we get here? At these being over? I mean, I sent the information, Karina sent me information, I'm sure you're aware of it, so. I see that in October of 24, almost a year ago. Ray identified this to Sean and you. And we just found out about it at the planning board level probably a week or two ago, if that. What are you gonna do in the future, I guess, try and make sure that it doesn't happen? I mean, I know when Mark was here, he talked about, he was real pro, we're putting up ribbons, we're putting up stakes, and there'll be no excavation or disturbance beyond these ribbons. Well, the first day the construction happens, the ribbons go and the stakes are gone, so. I mean, those type of things, I think, are things that would help prevent you even being here tonight, had that really happen. I mean, and there's other options like smaller houses or bigger lots. So you don't, when you talk about the percentage of disturbance. I mean, those are types of things I think, Scott, that really help everybody, you know, and this is hopefully just a learning thing and it will get better. You know,
I
I think you have a lot of area over there yet to develop, so.
Yeah, I agree, like. I would have loved not to drive 3.5 hours up just to come to this meeting, and then now I'm gonna hop in the car and drive 3.5 hours back. But I think I've already stated multiple times that, you know, okay, we made a mistake, but I feel like we've learned from it. One is, like I said, I'm not allowing a design coming for LUP again, that's at 54.9%. It's just not like there was no reason. You know, part of the reason was we were trying to do right by our clients. And say, okay, we can keep this under 55% and you won't have to pay for stormwater. And what happens? We end up with stormwater anyway, or violations of that. So what you're gonna see is most of our LUPs, if we're around that limit, we're gonna come in and just have it designed ahead of it. And then, you know, I've already had to have this conversation with Rex about, you know, if you don't think that you can stay within the limit of work, you know, come to us and talk to us first, then we can figure out what's a different alternative versus, you know, blowing past the limit of work and us finding out after the fact. Yes, you're right. My bad, because Ray did visually say, I think you've gone over that. At the time, these lots were all at like foundation level. We hadn't even finished backfilling and everything like that. Should we have come in sooner? Yes, I should have. But as we got to this summer, everything got backfilled. We're starting to look at where the driveways are going. Now I have to deal with it both. So, you know, I want to do better because I don't want to have to come before you and say we made a mistake. We made a mistake here, trying to figure out the best way to correct it, the avenue to fix these so that we are compliant. And then do a better job so that it doesn't happen going forward.
So is construction gonna cease then? So you put in this water management system?
The only ones that can do that are the board of selectmen.
I wasn't saying we're gonna do that.
No,
I was like,
no.
on you, you know, like what are you gonna do, right? If you're already above all these thresholds and you don't want it to get worse and construction is still happening, those numbers and those percentages are just gonna keep going up until like you take action.
They won't go up because we're already at our limit. Like, we're not going out there cutting more trees to go wider. The original limit of work was violated.